You might have heard about it, and you're not sure why people are so upset about it. So I'm here to talk about what's the deal with alchemy. Hello everybody, I'm Amy the Amazonian, and today I'm going to be talking about alchemy. So I do want to preface by saying that I was paid to promote Alchemy for its launch. This was actually the first time which myself and I believe many other content creators for Magic the Gathering were paid to do card reveals for a set. This was actually very nice of them to do because it is really nice to be appreciated and given, money to do labor, like revealing cards. It's not major labor, but it does make use of our social media channels and our Twitch channels, and it's very nice to have received money to do that. So before I move any further, just wanted to make sure I said that before we start talking about alchemy. I'm going to start with what it is, I'm going to start about what it's done, and I want to talk about why people are upset about it in both the, yes, they're upset and they absolutely should be upset, and the, they're upset and they're just kind of being whiny babies. Because there's actually a big mix when it comes to alchemy. So I think it's important that we talk about all of it. So, first things first. What the heck is alchemy? Alchemy is a new game type. It's actually a format announced for Magic the Gathering Arena during a weekly MTG that was early on in December. Format came out in mid-December, and we're about a week and a half to 2 weeks into it right now. What the format actually is you take all the cards in Standard, okay? So right now, what is that? We've got Call Time and Strixhaven, Zendikar Rising, we've got the new stuff, we've got Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow. Great, so you've got a format. Standard. We're going to take some new cards. These are the Alchemy cards. We're going to add them into Standard. Very cool. Love to see it. Then we're going to take a bunch of cards that were already in Standard, and we're going to rebalance them. Some of them are going to get stronger, and some of them are going to get weaker. These are going to be meta cards that get weaker, and kind of just cards that people aren't playing so much of that get a little bit stronger. This on its own is not a problem. There's nothing wrong with creating a new Magic the Gathering format. What makes this format interesting is that it is a live format, which in Wizards of the Coast speak means this is a format where the cards can change power level at any time. So that means that there are going to be buffs and nerfs to cards within this format. Not just arena-only cards, but cards that exist within Magic the Gathering. These changes to cards are also being reflected in historic. So you have standard cards, they are unchanged. You have the alchemy version of standard cards that are changed. The alchemy changes then reflect into alchemy and historic, which are both the live formats of Magic the Gathering. There are only two that exist right now. So the cards that were released into Alchemy have something kind of weird about them. They're pretty much all rares. There is about 1/5 of the cards is uncommons, but for the most part, they are rare or mythic. This makes them very hard to collect. It means that most of the cards are of a higher power level. This means that they're more likely to impact the format which they are in. And they did. I can tell you as somebody who has been playing this format, it definitely did impact it relative to Standard. That is two distinct formats already. The meta decks are different. The archetypes are not that dissimilar, but there are some archetypes in Standard which are fairly weak, but have such good new cards in them in Alchemy that they're now worth playing and maybe even competitive. So the fact that they're all rares, that is a reason why people are very upset. That is completely valid. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So the Alchemy cards, there were, I believe, just around 60 of them, a little bit more released. You can only get them by opening up booster packs or by redeeming wild cards. There is no way to purchase all of the cards released in Alchemy outright the way that you would a historic anthology. These are all just important things that I think it is worth mentioning about Alchemy, what it is, what it does, how it's played, everything else. Alchemy also has a ranked format. It shares your rank with all other constructed ranks in Magic the Gathering Arena. You cannot play this format outside of Magic the Gathering Arena because it makes use of digital-only cards. The cards added into Alchemy are all using digital-only mechanics. These digital-only mechanics I actually talk about in my Magic Minutes video about Historic Horizons. That is where things like Conjure and Perpetually were first introduced, and they did not get that much attention, in part because the cards were not that strong and not that popular outside of a format like Historic Brawl. So, Alchemy cards, most of them being these, digital-only mechanics, means that you could not do them in paper without the assistance of an outside party, somebody who could look at your library, sort through it for you, or the ability to generate cards, so you'd essentially just need a big pool of cards, or access to randomness that you may not actually have. It's not things that are necessarily impossible in paper, but they would be a hassle to handle, and you might see something like it in an unset or mystery boosters, the convention edition ones. By the way, those are super duper fun. If you ever have an opportunity, you should play the booster draft for mystery boosters convention edition. It is so much fun. That was completely off topic. What was I talking about? Alchemy. Oh yeah! So these cards are all rares. You can only use wild cards for them or open up the packs. The packs you buy, similarly to other packs, have duplicate protection, so you can't get more than 4 of the same rare. But most of these rares are not cards you actually need. They're just rares. Like, oh yeah, I love getting Archangel's Light. It was the first mythic I ever opened, and I'm still forever gonna be salty about that. You open up the packs, you're just looking for a couple cards, and really what you need are rare wild cards. In Magic the Gathering Arena, the way that you get rare wild cards is by sometimes getting them in a pack when you happen to open them. Sometimes you just happen to open the card you wanted if you're opening the booster packs that have the cards you want in them. Or you have to open 6 packs to get 1 rare wild card. What about mythic rares? You gotta open, I think it's like 30 or 36 packs. Don't quote me on that, because I don't really look at that little wheel that spins. It's in the top right corner, and on my camera set, it is covered up by a little decal, so I don't actually see it, and I'm just like, oh my god, look, I got wild cards somehow. I don't even know where these came from. Great, awesome, I can craft new decks. It's expensive to get a lot of rares in Magic the Gathering Arena if they are specific rares, which they are for Alchemy. Your Alchemy decks will be mostly cards you have in Standard, but because the deck archetypes are different from Standard, let's say, oh, I want to play Party because Party got a lot stronger in Alchemy. Cool, you have to collect the new Party cards to do that, and that is money or time. Gotta grind in Arena, and Magic the Gathering Arena does something kind of annoying. It caps how much you're able to grind in the game. You can't just like keep going and keep unlocking more stuff, and you don't get huge weekly rewards like you do in Legends of Runeterra. I'm so spoiled by that game. By the way, you should all check out Legends of Runeterra. It's the League of Legends card game. It's digital, it's on mobile, and it's really, really good. Hashtag not sponsored right now, but hashtag have been sponsored in the past. It's a good game. So the price is a problem. Now you have to take that price of entry into Alchemy and combine it with something else. The fact that the cards are live and could be rebalanced. Now, their balancing philosophy, according to the article that they released at the same time as the set, includes some information about how they don't want to make any decks unusable. They want the decks and the rebalance changes to just make them more fair, more balanced. But that never happens in card games. You eventually nerf something into oblivion because there's no other way to do it. This is not Wizards of the Coast, like getting ahead of themselves and really screwing over players, but they have actually set a precedent for this. There's a card called Davriel's Withering. Davriel's Withering was changed in such a way that it prevented the deck that it was being used for from being built. There is a combo with Davriel's Withering that they just straight up removed from the game. Like, people spent their wild cards to build this deck. Now, did they refund wild cards when the card that was part of the combo was changed in Historic? No. They didn't, and I don't think that they ever will for Alchemy either. And that is really worrisome because the economy in Magic the Gathering Arena is not forgiving. If you're playing a deck and the deck gets banned, and you don't even get wild cards for the banned cards. You don't get wild cards ever for just the other supporting cards. Like, oh yeah, nice, I crafted all these, I don't know, Goldspan Dragons, and then they make Goldspan Dragon nothing. You would feel really bad if that happened. They haven't done that yet. They did nerf Goldspan Dragon, but it's not enough to really remove it from the game. I just get a little upset because I feel like you should have access to the same decks that you crafted before, and they should all function the way they did. The Davriel's Withering was kind of like the first sign of, these live formats having rebalancing are not that well handled. In a game like Hearthstone, when a card is rebalanced, the cards in that deck, the ones that kind of work around it, they allow you to exchange them for a 100% refund to essentially get wild cards of another card. That is really helpful because if you kept having to change your deck and it kept getting banned because you were playing the best deck and you were never able to catch up because you'd have to regrind to get a new deck, it would lose you as a player. And player retention is huge in free-to-play games like Magic the Gathering Arena, because if you're not paying to play the game, you're the product. And there need to be players to play the game for everybody else to play against, or the game starts to fail. So right now, I don't think that people are too salty to just like ditch Arena, but if you look at Reddit, you would think otherwise. So people on Reddit specifically were very upset, not just about the economy of Magic and Alchemy, but about Historic. The changes to cards in Alchemy affect the changes in Historic. Historic, before this point, was already a live format. I mentioned before with the Davriel's Withering and with all of the digital-only mechanics in Historic Horizons. Historic Horizons, actually, very strangely, people didn't really care about. I keep my ear to the ground. I keep my eye on what's happening in Magic Twitter because I follow all the other big Magic streamers and they follow me and we all chat about stuff. And when Historic Horizons came out, there were a couple people who were like, this isn't my Magic the Gathering. Ugh, these are digital-only things. What is this, Hearthstone? And those people are rightfully kind of laughed at because digital-only mechanics in card games are pretty fun. And it's kind of like having an unset, but for Arena. For anybody who doesn't know, things like Unstable, these sets that come to Magic the Gathering, are really, really fun. They make use of kind of silly mechanics or things that you could not otherwise achieve because they're not feasible, they don't make sense, but they're enjoyable. And I think digital-only mechanics, similarly, are usually goofy, but enjoyable. I play a lot of digital card games, so I am definitely biased in that direction. Other people, though, they are Magic purists, and there should be a format for them on Arena. Magic the Gathering, having an eternal format on Arena, like Pioneer, anybody Pioneer, would be great. It should have that. So when Historic Horizons comes out, that would be the perfect time to say, oh, and also, we're going to add all the cards from Pioneer, and we're going to have Pioneer, Historic, Standard, and then later on they add Alchemy. So you have a standard paper format, then you also have an eternal paper format. In this case, you have one that never rotates, you have Pioneer, and then same thing for the live formats, Alchemy, and Historic. Am I rambling too much? Absolutely. That's what this whole video is going to be. It's just me talking about stuff that I care about because I'm going to be real with you. Alchemy is really fun to play. But I have put a lot of money into Magic the Gathering Arena. I have access to almost all of the cards. This is because it is my full-time job to play Magic the Gathering Arena. I play almost 50 to 60 hours of Magic the Gathering Arena every single week. Which means that, well, between the free-to-play rewards and the stuff that I buy in the game, I have a lot of cards in Magic the Gathering Arena, all right? For me, the additional cost to entry into Alchemy was pretty low. On top of that, they did actually give us some free cards for Alchemy. I'm not just talking about, like, me as a streamer. Everybody got them. If you logged in since Alchemy came out, you were given a whole bunch of free packs and a couple just extra rares. I think it's 3 boosters for signing in, 3 additional boosters for playing in the Alchemy event, 6 rare ICRs, that's just 6 random rares. It's almost the equivalent of 6 packs, and 1 mythic rare. Cool, nice. That's actually very kind. They should give us that more often. Like, I don't know, every couple weeks. I'd like that. Every set, they should just give us a whole bundle of boosties. Not just the play Vow or play Midnight or whatever other code. I want more boosties. Give me the boosties, Wizards of the Coast. So we have, at this point, I was talking about, I completely lost track. Yes, we were talking about Historic and how it is impacted by Alchemy. The fact that the cards in Alchemy reflect into Historic means that even people's pet decks, which weren't necessarily meta, might get nerfed. So let's say you were building a cool token deck in Historic because, oh my gosh, tokens are so much fun. We've got Reese, we've got Ren, we've got Chariot, Ezeka's Chariot. Now this card was nerfed. Well, it was rebalanced. Some people actually like this change a lot, but it now comes into play and leaves less power and toughness on the battlefield. You get 1 2/2 cat instead of 2 2/2 cats. It crews more cheaply, which is good if you're playing with Magda in a treasure build, but it's bad if you're just trying to have more power on the board, which is most of us. You want to win the game, you usually win the game by reducing your opponent's life total to 0, which requires more 2/2 cats. And I need every single 2/2 cat that I can get my little paws on. So we have this nerf to Ezeka's Chariot in Alchemy, which reflects into Historic, and now the poor player who's like, I was just making copies of things with Mirror March, and now they're gone. And now they're gone because your card's not as good. I'm sorry, random player having fun with your tokens, but you got hit. You were an inadvertent victim of a standard adjacent problem. And that stinks. And I really wish that we had some other place for players like that to play where their cards aren't going to be rebalanced. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Pioneer. I'm telling you, Pioneer is the answer. We have almost every single mechanic and almost every single majorly played card in Arena to get just Pioneer going. Like, I have cast a Pioneer tournament before. I'm pretty familiar with the metagame at this point, too, because it doesn't change that often. It's pretty fun. You guys should check out Pioneer if you're interested, but you can't play it in Arena yet, so there isn't a great accessible way to play it. You can play it in paper. Cool, you gotta buy a deck. You want to play it in mtga, same thing, gotta buy a deck. I want to play it in Arena, because I already have most of the cards, and I really want to play my SRAM deck. Love SRAM. There is a similar deck in Historic, that is true, but it's not the same. I want to play the one in Pioneer. We have digital-only mechanics. We have these changes happening to Historic. We have the fact that there wasn't a lot of outrage when these digital-only mechanics were originally released. And there was only a small amount of outrage because most people were not playing that combo, which got hit with the Davriel's Withering Ultrification. So, yeah. I think Wizards of the Coast did upset a lot of people with the launch of Alchemy. And I think that there is a good way for them to fix it. Because Alchemy is very fun, and it is a fresh way to keep a new, more frequently changing format in Arena without having to add historic cards, they could make the economy more forgiving. But I don't think they will, because the economy in Magic the Gathering Arena has been the same since beta. Originally, they were supposed to get rid of the vault, by the way. This was back under... this was when Chris was, like, the head of design, wasn't he? Yeah, the vault was supposed to go away, and it never did. And now this vault is this stupid thing where when you open enough packs or you draft enough cards that you already had 4 copies of, well, eventually the vault fills up. It just trickles in a little bit of value, and then, boom, you get a couple of wild cards. Not that many, just a few, lots of uncommons. I have so many uncommon wild cards that when a set comes out to further my vault progress, so I get more rare wild cards, I craft almost every single uncommon from the set, and I feel like an idiot sitting there just like adding all of these commons and uncommons to a fake deck so I can craft them, so I can advance my vault progress. It's a bad system. There's no way to convert your wild cards from like little wild cards, commons, into uncommons, into rares, into mythic rares, or take a mythic rare and split it into two rares, or maybe take a rare, and I don't know why you'd want all these uncommons, and split it into like 16 uncommons. That could be something cool you could do, but there isn't a system like that in the game. There's also no way to get rid of bulk cards. There's a lot of commons and uncommons that you get, especially while drafting or opening packs, that you will never ever use. Like even the silliest jank deck where you chose every single card by the name, or like that has A at the start of the name, and you put it into a deck, you're not going to use these cards because they're not good. They're filler. And when you're drafting, it makes sense because those are the cards that do help balance out a format, make it so, oh yeah, not everything needs to be good to win the game. 2-mana 2/2s, bears as people call them, are a staple of decks in Limited because sometimes you just need a 2-drop. And a 2-mana 2/2 is a plenty fine 2-drop. Sometimes they even have like First Strike or some other like Vigilance, Lifelink. Awesome! A lot of times they don't. I still put them into decks because I want them there. But I don't need them in my collection because they're not good. And I wish I could take them and crumble them up into a ball and then throw that ball into a hoop, make a Dunkarino, and then bam boom, get myself a rare. Let me shard my cards to use Rune Terror turns. Let me dust them to use Hearthstone turns. I don't remember what it's called in Shadowverse. Crystals? Is that it? Let me crystallize them. I want to crystallize those bad boys. But I don't get to. So there are 3 articles that did announce Alchemy coming out. There was the Rebalancing Philosophy article where they talk about the cards being rebalanced. That would be Alrund's Epiphany, Essica's Chariot, Faceless Haven, Goldspan Dragon, Luminarch Aspirant, Omnath, Cosmos Elixir, Demi-Lich, Druid class, Wizard class, and Phylath. You can read that if you want to know why they changed each card. It doesn't say why they didn't change other cards, but it does say why they changed those cards. There's nothing in the article, though, about why there hasn't been a change to the economy within the game, because they've been pretty much silent about it. Occasionally, at the end of weekly MTG, they mention, oh, well, we're going to touch on that eventually. And they don't. And that's a bummer. Also, here's one thing that I think more people should be angry about and aren't angry about. In Magic the Gathering Arena, if you have a deck which is standard legal, that should technically be Alchemy legal, but uses a rebalanced card, such as, let's say, Goldspan Dragon, you have to have 2 separate decks. And that's just like a failure within the UI. And the fact that I have to maintain 2 nearly identical decks, that's like, oh, well, it should still be playable, right? You want me to have my deck, but it's just a little bit less powerful? Cool, let me have my deck and not have to take up 2 deck slots for it. It's the same named card. I should be able to play it in both formats. And for every single deck of mine in Historic Brawl, and I maintain like 30 plus Historic Brawl decks, I had to go and look at the deck, okay? Then I had to right-click on the cards that were buffed or nerfed. There were a couple banned cards too, but like I was fine with those bans. I have to right-click on them. I have to open up the style menu. I have to turn off the style because for some reason, if your Alchemy cards had a style on them, you could not remove them properly from the deck. Then I had to remove them from the deck, switch the format that I was searching by, add the new one in, turn the style back on if I wanted to show off my Swiggity Swag, and of course I want to show off my Swiggity Swag, and then save the deck. And I had to do that for almost every single one of my decks because I have a lot of these cards that got rebalanced because they were all very strong. If I had a standard deck, a standard deck that I wanted to then play in Alchemy, and I had, let's say, a Luminarch Aspirant in it, I had to open up the deck, okay, clone it. All right, so I've cloned it in, like, the deck viewer, and then I have to take the clone of the deck, and I need to actually change the format to standard, not to Alchemy, so I can remove the standard version of the card, and then switch the format to Alchemy, and then add the Alchemy version of a card, because it would bug if you didn't do that. So pretty much the UI within the game made it a pain in the ass to maintain Alchemy decks, and I am upset about that, and I think you should be too. Cards are fun. Maintaining the decks is not fun. Affording the cards is not fun. But you know what is fun? Playing the game. Again, as I said, Alchemy is fun, and I think it does have potential. And something that I didn't really touch on before, but was a huge part of the announcement, was that Alchemy is supposed to add a little bit more spice to Arena. Magic the Gathering Arena and Standard in general get stagnant very quickly. Digital formats have so many people playing so many millions of games that they solve the metas. The meta decks get figured out, and gameplay kind of stagnates. Sometimes there's a most powerful deck, depending on what meta you're playing in, whether it be a tournament meta or a ladder meta, and that gets boring. Nobody wants to play against Epiphany decks for 2 months straight, especially if nothing else comes out that makes them worse. So Alchemy is a good solution. Hey, we're just going to inject more cards into Arena all the time to make it more fresh and fun. Cool. Do that. Give us the cards for free. Okay, or like, well, I'll pay a little bit. Give me like an option where it's like, I will pay you $2, give me all the cards. I will give you my $2. Here's my $2 right here. Where's $2? I don't have $2 in front of me. I'm at the computer. You cannot take the dollar bills and shove them into the disk drive. Not, my computer doesn't actually have a disk drive, does it? And shove it into the USB port. No, I can't do that, but I do have a credit card, and I can enter the numbers from the card into the computer, give Wizards of the Coast my delicious monies, so they can give me digital cardboard. I crave it. Wizards of the Coast, I don't think any of you are watching this video listening to me ramble for 30 minutes straight, but if you do, I'd really like it if you made Alchemy more accessible so everybody can enjoy it. It would be nice. Please?